Welcome to Worldbuild with us, the podcast where we create fantastical worlds with help from you, our listeners. My name is Rob Hilferty, and I'm here with my co-hosts Daniel Quinn and Christopher Prunty. On today's episode, we are looking back at the year that was 2020. Man, that was a shithole of a year, wasn't it? But there was some good moments in it. For example, our podcast. Mostly, like 2020 is really the year where Worldbuild with us kind of came into its own. We started having guests, and we started doing a lot more listener-based settings. And today, I thought it'd be nice to kind of sit down and go over some of our favorites from the previous year. And let's go ahead. And I feel like that's good enough, right? Or should I? You know, I'll shill for a little bit. I'll shill.
Yeah.
And remember, if you ever want to try and make it onto one of our yearly best of lists, you can always go ahead and submit a setting prompt to worldbuildwithus@gmail.com, or you can go ahead and shoot one to us over on Twitter @Let'sWorldBuild. And if you're feeling like you want to come hang out and be part of our world building community, you can join our Discord with a link in the description. And if you're feeling like you want to shower us with riches and praise, just save the praise and shower us in riches over at Patreon, link also in the description. We're going to start out the year that was by reflecting back on some hopeful things, mostly a setting that was referred to us by listener Jason, who challenged us to create a hopeful solar punk setting. So Daniel chose the Land of 1,000 Pots, and he's going to reintroduce us to the setting and tell us what he's added. Then we're going to do a world building jam to help expand upon that world even more. Daniel, take it away.
One of the things I was interested in, obviously, in the solar punk setting is the whole concept of post-scarcity and how this is a setting that's kind of in a future of economics that we don't fully understand because we live in this post-capitalist kind of society. So what I was thinking about was, I think at one point we talked about taking the setting intergalactic, because for the most of the setting we had it all only in one world, in one particular kind of like virtual city sort of space. But I think on one of the other spin-offs of it that we had it spanning across multiple worlds. And I know there was this like journey that young people take. That was the 12-fold path, the 12-something path.
Something like that.
Yeah.
I think it was the general conceit of that is that where people lived a number of lifetimes where they experienced multiple lifetimes so they could truly broaden their horizons and experience every type of life there was to live.
Yeah, so I wanted to work with that because I felt like if that's expanded to an interstellar or throughout the galaxy kind of setting, so it's not just on this one world, and they're traveling from world to world to explore this. I wanted to introduce a potential like alien species that I don't know whether it would be something that's part of the original setting or something they encounter as they travel. But I was thinking an alien species that is essentially like mimetic ships or structures. So by that I mean the species can take the form of structures or actual like starships that they travel in, and they have this like psychic connection with it, so that it's the mechanism by which they can have this kind of post-scarcity society. So like say they're trying to colonize one of the places they're traveling to during this journey. The species that travels with them can take the shape of the buildings they inhabit, or it takes the shape of the ship they're in, and perhaps they discover that this particular species exists throughout the galaxy, and that whatever group of people discovers the seedling of it, it bonds to those people or to that species, and then develops in a way that is symbiotic with those travelers. So, but perhaps the alien gets out of the relationship, and maybe it feeds off of their like collective intelligence or their memories or something. But the idea is that it bonds with them, and it takes on the ideology of the species that it bonds with. So that's the concept, is that having these kind of like pair bonding with this other alien species that maybe they pick up along the way or they've had in the original setting and carried with them. I know we had also like kind of like Digimon creatures that were paired with individuals in the setting too. I think it was in the setting. So I was thinking maybe those creatures are a manifestation of that alien species that humanity either has discovered or maybe they developed it in the original setting.
So, with this kind of symbiotic relationship that you've developed here, what is the ultimate goal of creating this type of mimetic plant life
Do you mean
slash
like
digi partner?
Do you mean like for the like narratively or for like the people who use it?
Both, actually, because I'm curious. Like, I'm approaching this as like this is like a sequel to
Mhm.
where we once were, and now we because what do you do in sequels? You go to space. That's just what
Yes.
happens.
Exactly.
So what exactly is the conceit with them? Are they, because I like the idea that this is a natural expansion of
Mhm.
this kind of hopeful, uh, bright part of humanity. I'm just curious as to what your thought on that is.
I think from a like a point of view of plot or like what's happening in the setting, this the bond with this species like broadens humanity's horizons in ways they didn't think was possible before. So if these creatures can take the shape of your habitat, or if they can take the shape of your means of travel, like you no longer need to struggle for some basic things because they can provide for that. And so I'm
Mhm.
thinking they have like the use of them is almost like replicator in a sense, because they can take those shapes on and they're endemic to the setting. So they allow us to get past certain basic needs and then literally expand our horizons. So like by means of travel or because we don't have those needs anymore. But in terms of narrative, I guess it's kind of like suggesting that in order to achieve that, we have to have a partnership, right? With whether it's with other people or with other beings. Because I think this whole setting is about establishing partly, a homeostasis with the earth, or like like not exceeding our bounds, and which is what we're doing on the earth currently.
I'm picturing it kind of what you were saying as being the world ships that were in Hyperion. I'm not sure if you're
Yeah,
familiar.
yeah, something like that.
Yeah, where are you also saying that the way that it's a replicator, is it forming literally what you believe it would look, or does it clearly have like an organic plant-like feel? Because it's much less creepy if you say plant-like rather than
I
semi-organic.
I think it's up to like the species that adapts it. So like I'm picturing like if you're finding these in the wild, it's like a seedling that you then nurture into being something. So maybe in the solar prank setting where they started, it is plant life. But suppose like you're some warlike insectoid species and you discover one. Well, now they're going to take on a shape that complements you.
I love the idea of, it's a matter of you have to plant it and you have to nurture it to
Mhm.
for it to become this thing. It's like a reflection.
Yes.
But I do have a question. Chris mentioned something about the world ships from Hyperion. I have never read Hyperion, so could you explain that just a little bit?
Uh, I don't. So in any
Chris
case,
hasn't read it either. Got
no,
it.
I
Okay.
have read it. You son of a bitch. Um, so
Weren't
they
they like
don't.
giant tree things?
They kind of go into it in the fact that there are these Templars that have tree ships and everything. They're organically made. They're all named after kind of giant trees from like mythology and everything. I think like one is called Yggdrasil
Oh,
or
Yggdrasil?
Yggdrasil, yeah.
Yggdrasil. Yeah.
Mhm.
Um, but they go in it in the fact that they don't have to build the ships.
Mhm.
It's mainly just grown, and I felt like there was something hinted at that the longer the ship is around, the bigger that it kind of becomes. So like the older ships are like the dreadnoughts, whereas like weaker little ones that are still saplings are more like fighter ships or kind of like coverts.
That's kind of a cool idea. I like that concept.
Yeah, I also think it would be cool in this setting if the idea is eventually for it to branch out, but uh,
Cutting
to
that.
Oh, come on. Branch out and kind of eventually become one with everything, kind of like the beast of a thousand backs kind of thing from Futurama, where it eventually, in not a malicious way, just becomes one with everything.
Hmm.
Yeah, maybe the seeds, even though they've evolved differently depending on their symbionts, can interconnect with each other or are interconnected.
I guess in the long term, seeing how this is talking about sustainability, uh, is there any plan for the eventual heat death of the universe for these seedlings?
I did have the notion that they aren't only four dimensional. So, like, we exist in three dimensions of space and one of time. So maybe they're actually slightly higher dimensional, and we were only seeing a slice of them in our universe. So maybe by expanding horizons, they also have the secret to surviving the heat death of the universe potentially.
Hmm.
See, I'd like to think that somehow they can fight against the heat death of the universe, because we're doing like full hope punk here. I want it to be like genuinely hopeful, where there is always a solution even to the inevitable heat death of the universe. Like I like that idea for some reason.
Yeah, I
Hmm.
think that could work.
All right, we'll just call it science, and we'll move on to the world building jam, where we're going to go ahead and do a quick little world building jam session within the land of 1,000 pots. Daniel, so as much as I love your idea, I do have to express some level of disappointment that my pro wrestling cops weren't actually brought back into the fold.
Well,
And
weren't
I'm
they the guys who had to shepherd the kids?
They're the
yeah,
ones who plant the seed.
Chris just saved you, Daniel. All right, Daniel can come back on next week's episode. That's great. All right, with that being said, let's go ahead and roll into the world building jam session that we're going to be doing this time. And let's go ahead and create a subject. This subject is going to be an item that we're going to be messing with. And we're going to be rolling with the archetype that is a comedy. So we now have to create an item that has a comedic edge to it in this world of 1,000 pots. So what are we doing?
Does it have to be related to this new element, or can it be anything?
It can be anything, but it helps if it's related to this new element.
Or something we haven't brought up that still exists in the world.
Also correct.
Yeah.
I think it would be neat if there were a teenage entity that needs to be, I don't know if it's like not reared, but needs to be like kept in check as it needs to accomplish something. That might be fun.
Explain.
So, my first thought was like, okay, well, what if there's a fresh seedling but it's a teenager and it's bonded to like also teenage or young protagonist, and they have to like solve some problem that for some reason the people in charge can't solve, but they're both precocious. So it's like wacky adventures.
So we can do wacky adventures / screwball sex comedy,
Yes.
teen comedy drama. Okay. All right. Because I remember in in those episodes that we touched on previously, we did like Stand By Me as one of like the plot hooks. So why not go with like post scarcity American Pie, but with less awful skeezy shit in it?
Yeah,
You know?
like more like unfortunate teenage embarrassment.
Is sex ball
Okay.
a term for movies?
It can also, yeah, there's a whole subgenre. You get like Porkies or Meatballs. Dude, especially in the 2000s when American Pie was popular, there were so many not like Euro Trip. Do you not remember any of that?
No, I do remember it. I didn't see them as one genre, but now it makes sense. But I'm also
It's,
not going to Google sex ball.
nope. No, don't do it. Yeah, don't do that. Okay,
Sex
so
ball
let's
movie.
so we're looking at the modern screwball sex comedy. Is that what we're looking at?
Yeah, I think so.
All right, so let's take that idea then and really kind of implant it in the world that is Land of a Thousand Pots. How do we do that? And how do we make it specific? And how do we make it fun, more likely?
Not dark.
No. Well, it's an item. Yeah, obviously. But it's an item. So let's focus on an item. Okay, hold on. Let's TNG this shit and make it so the problem is this teen and the symbiotic world ship that he's kind of he's bonded with is just beaming out horny beams everywhere.
It's trying to mate, maybe.
Oh yes, yeah, and so like everyone who gets within a radius of a certain like area is just like, hey, how are you? And like people are like desperately this has all of the like potential to go really dark, but not in this goddamn setting. This is gonna be fun and it's gonna be screwball, god damn it. Also, singing is now involved. I'm making sure that that's happening.
So maybe we should have another character who's musical in some way.
No. I mean, it's going to be an entire everyone who's in with this sphere. Actually, we can just remove the sex part and just have the musical part instead.
Wait, it's kind of like The Man Who Did Not Like Musicals. That play, only it's good instead of evil.
Yes.
So it's a musical.
I'm thinking in TNG specifically. There's that episode where something happens and everyone within the ship gets really drunk. They're not drunk, but they act really drunk.
You mean the horrible sex episode where Tasha Yar and Data do it?
You mean my favorite episode?
The worst episode of all time?
No, that is a weird episode.
My point is that there is a field surrounding this world ship that is like affecting everyone within a world's radius, shall we say.
Okay.
Where everyone who's on that world is like singing and dancing, and that's all there is to it, right? And so the whole conceit is that the people have to find the item that turns off the musical bit.
I bet what it is that this creature or the symbiont, like maybe it was removed too early by the person it's bonded with, and so that's why it's like kind of wacky. And so he's being pursued throughout his what do you call it, the life path, because they need to get it back to where it has to grow up, but he's running away with it.
Okay, yes, and also it is Little Shop of Horrors.
Yes.
Where they, like instead of it being like a stand-in for capitalism, Audrey 2 can just be like, I need
Unchecked.
more. Yeah, exactly. Okay.
And that's they can't let it run away like that because there's no discipline.
I would also like to introduce one other thing. In the Buffy musical episode, how people would unintentionally also sing about their feelings that they don't necessarily want to share at that moment.
Yeah, oh my god, it forces them to do that because its emotions and hormones are out of control.
Yeah.
Okay, bam, we fucking nailed it. We're moving on to the next one because the next episode that we wanted to revisit was sent to us by Lord of Chris's, and he wanted to talk about the Mecha episode. So Chris, why don't you go ahead and take away from that, considering that you are a subordinate of the Lord of Chris's. Yeah, so we can go ahead and do that.
I really liked the Mecha episode, and it also tied back to our Land of a Thousand Gods in the fact that we said that setting was kind of the future of Land of a Thousand Gods, and that the relics / Mecha themselves were kind of the god hearts kind of misunderstood and repurposed into the mecha that they are.
Every mech that we created was also a god, just manifest in like rocket fist punching and shit like that. Absolutely.
Correct. And we also had it that the pilots that were bonding to the mecha were kind of slowly empathizing with the technology or the AI that is in fact a god heart. It made you start to become compassionate to that way of thinking, and also kind of getting you their broad experience of what would have probably been several millennia at that point. And also the adoration and following of hundreds, millions, who knows, throughout their experience. But we had it that they were destroyed by the mimetic virus that kind of destroyed faith.
Yeah, during our apocalypse episode. Yeah, I remember
Yeah,
that.
yeah.
I just realized that we never called this what it should be, which is Land of 40,000 Gods. Because I look back on this, and that's a strict missed opportunity on our end for sure. All right, so Chris,
been.
what did you bring new to the Land of 40,000 Gods?
So I hope that this is new, because man, that would be embarrassing.
Editing, sir. Editing.
Oh, you would do that for me? Thank you. I wanted to have it that as empathy kind of exists and siphons off, the chaotic feelings that exist within our psyche and everything is still being funneled somewhere. And to go to your point of Land of 40,000 Gods, or
are we getting an emperor? Is this what's about to happen?
I did want an emperor like figure that was kind of, and also chaos gods. I wanted that. So all of these pilots and reliquaries come together as an amalgamation of consciousness, and what they do, which is similar and clearly stolen from 40K, is that they sacrifice themselves to become one singular being, and the force in the universe of building a new empire. But I also wanted to have the other side of that purging themselves of all these negative emotions births the polar opposite, something that is made of hate and everything wrong with pretty much humanity.
Okay, so what I'm hearing from you is that we're essentially doing a divine coalescence again, but 40,000 years into the future. And this time it doesn't, there's like deep consequences for that divine coalescence. We're basically hitting that time as a flat circle shit all over again. And I got to say, I'm actually really digging this idea. I love what we're doing here.
So
all
are
of
there
the
two
negative emotions, all of the primal hate, fear, and everything, that becomes the God blob.
I don't want to do the God blob again. We defeated the God blob, though.
No,
I feel it.
I know, but think of it. It is a flat circle again, but you're right. Maybe not a God blob. I do want maybe each one being a distinct being, like all of these things hate become one being.
See, that sounds more fun to me. I'd love to do like our version of Chaos Gods. I think that's what I'd rather do.
question though is, so you said there are two things happening. One is the pilots willingly sacrificing their reliquaries to make one larger one, right?
Oh, not
And
just the pilots sacrificing their mechs or reliquaries, but also sacrificing themselves, because they're like, we're all one consciousness. Let's fuse into one.
But you said that also there's runoff. So how is that runoff happening? Is it as a consequence of that coalescence, or is it a separate thing?
It is a consequence of that coalescence. Think of it as if you're combining two things and there's a third thing that's not compatible.
It's like extra.
Yeah, it kind of gets pushed off to the side. But when you're doing it with like 30 or 40 things, that is a much greater sum than its parts. And it takes on a physical manifestation.
Okay, cool.
Chris, there is one mech that we actually kind of didn't talk about, and I'm glad that we're doing it this way, because the way that we're doing it now is that this is Voltron / the Power Rangers, where they all come and form into a larger mech.
Oh my god.
So you've covered all of our bases with this idea, sir. I love that.
I also like
Voltron and Pro Voltron.
it would also be neat if the some of this isn't being done willingly, because I can imagine the more zealotous pilot slash reliquaries being up for doing this, but I could also imagine like evil corporations gathering pilots together to force them into this blob, to create
That's
chaos pilots.
okay. Yes. That's actually the result of the 4 chaos gods. It's not
Mhm.
like so there's the good one,
Right.
and that's the result of people who are actually all on the same page.
Yeah.
The corporatists, they tried to create something. They saw what happened. They're like, wow, that's really powerful. Let's force this onto our pilots. The pilots obviously are like, wait, what are we doing?
Like,
And
we don't want to
so,
do that.
right. And
What's
as a
your contract?
result, right. And
Yeah,
as a result,
it was in the Mondo contract. You didn't read the fine print.
What about fucking Mundo?
uh, as a result of the corporate bullshit, they're like, wait, what's happening? As they are coalesced together. And instead of like this beautiful, transcendent, ultra god, it's like this fucked up, hateful being that doesn't want to exist.
Yes. I love that.
Yeah. Yeah, that's exactly what's
I
going on.
also like to take a little bit of that of uh, during the one good or quote unquote good uh, coalescence that little gems of things that they broke off that are bad personality traits or non-compatible, they find refuge in these other corporations that are making things that shouldn't be a match, because they can kind of find a little place to nestle in there where they shouldn't exist. It's just like, oh, these people didn't want to do this. Oh yeah, I can put some hate and anger in there. Let me just
Yeah,
squeeze in there. Excuse me.
absolutely. Corporations found these shards, nurtured them, and then raised them. Yeah, that's exactly what happened, Chris.
And
That's awesome. Yeah.
so is the runoff like the 40K Emperor? Is that what that's turning into, or is it some
The
neat?
divine coalescence that was good
Mhm.
is the 40K Emperor.
Oh, the good one. Okay.
Yeah, in 40K, one of the believed things is that a bunch of really good shamans killed themselves in a sacrifice and became the Emperor.
Okay, so he's actually the one that was willingly accomplished.
Yeah, it's like a
Okay.
council of people came together
Right.
and be like, listen, we
I
could do a
see.
lot of good if we do this.
Okay.
Hey, I want to make this really clear to the idiots who don't get this, by the way. The Empire of Man is not good in
Yeah,
40K.
I always thought they seemed kind of bad to me.
Yeah, no, they're evil as fuck. And people are like, they're the good guys because they're human. No,
It doesn't seem like there's any good guys in
no
40K.
one are the good guys in
The
40K.
Tau that are supposed to be the good guys.
Like,
The
isn't it
original
dark
Tau
fantasy
are the
sci-fi?
Yeah.
Like,
Sorry, I just needed to have that tangent because
Yeah.
it boils my blood when it's like, what, this fascist dictatorship isn't the good guy? Like, no, they're very clearly not the good guy.
I mean,
God
honestly,
damn.
I don't know anything about 40K, but it seems like the friendliest of all of them might be the orcs.
They're just
Well,
looking for
I
a
would
good
say that
time.
they're the most predictable. Like, you
Yeah.
know what the orcs are about.
Right.
And realistically, it could be chaos in certain aspects,
my
but
God.
or Necrons, depending on your overall
Nihilism.
Yeah, utter obliteration of the universe. Also, I do love the Necrons.
I mean,
think they're
the Tower kind of the good, but then they rewrote them into not being good. We're getting off
Oh
topic.
yeah, aren't the Tau like
Yeah.
Protoss types? They seem good.
No, they
Yeah, but
originally
they're
started
also
out as good, but they
spoilers.
rewrote their lore
Oh.
where maybe it's not really a choice to be good.
I see.
Yeah, but yeah, I'd say the Tower the closest. But you know what? Again, Necrons are cool. That's all I know about 40K. Also, Angry Marines and Pretty Marines, totally canon.
Reasonable Marines are also good.
Oh, I didn't know. I don't. We'll have to talk about this off podcast. I've never heard of Reasonable Marines before.
Mm.
That sounds antithetical to the whole Marine situation.
It's why they don't get along with any other chapter.
Okay. Off topic. All right. So with this being said, I feel like it's a good chance to go back into another world building jam session here as we figure out what we're going to be expanding upon in this fucking badass mecha. So the subject is going to be a monster, appropriately enough. And the story that we're going to be telling is the quest. So obviously we can tie this in with this monster, or I'm sorry, this divine coalescence has been created to stop the monster. And that is what's happened. So the quest is to go and stop this monster at the edge or beginning of the universe.
And this runoff, we didn't really establish what it actually is, though, right? Because I'm kind of like, I don't want it to be another like unthinking hell blob. Like, it would be neat if it was more interesting than that.
I mean, sure, let's go ahead and do that. So the quest is this divine coalescence mega mech goes out to stop whatever it was created for.
Mhm.
In the meantime, while it's off doing its own thing, the rest of the colonies are essentially undefended from these corporate bastards who come in and take up all of these corrupted shards of divinity.
Mhm.
Then they create their own thing. So let's make that monster really cool and not, as Daniel said, just a random hell blob.
I'm just in love with the idea of an evil Voltron that's like 4 horrible aspects that combine into one big horrible thing. And that's not a blob. It's not a blob.
You say that, and my mind immediately goes to like, let's name all of the horrible aspects of like bureaucracy and exploitation. So we'll have like a 4 horsemen of the apocalypse, but they all represent like,
So it's like a senator, an accountant, a lawyer, and a priest. Is what you're saying.
there are good lawyers out there. I mean, I've seen Legal Eagle.
Wait, but as a difficult thing, you also would have to think of what would be the prime negative traits of all of these good people who form together. And the first one that comes to mind is zealotry.
Mm-hmm.
Oh yeah,
that's a good idea. Yeah, so like you show the negative of each of the good sides that were merged because they're a runoff of them, right? So it's their opposite.
Mm-hmm.
So what would be like a negative trait of good people?
Selfishness. I want it to be like they're in their great show, The Good Place. There is a character who does a bunch of really good charity work, but only does it for selfish reasons. And I like the idea that there are pilots and heroes who are only doing the piloting and the heroics for their own gain. And I feel like you can probably do something like that as well.
So selfishness, fear could be another one because courage might be the good. And then what was the first one that we mentioned?
Zealotry.
Zealotry.
Yeah. We need one more. Let's do a 4th one.
Oh, another one. Let's see.
Fear is also like it's just the most standard, but man, it's standard for
so many ways.
I don't want to do anger because I think anger can be blanketed into zealotry.
And anger can lead to hate. So, and you know what hate leads to?
Oh, that leads to
bad what's writing. The other good? What's the 4th good thing? Because that's where it will come from.
Well, let's not. I would rather not do that, actually. So, well, actually, yeah.
It runs off from that, right? So, what is the opposite of the 4th good thing?
So we've got courage, piety, but the opposite of that would be zealotry,
right?
Selflessness,
is selfless, yeah,
right. And then
patience,
impetuousness.
I like the idea of exploitation. So like there's something where it's
so freedom versus
subjugation,
right?
Yeah. All right. So we basically just created Sauron then. Dope. All right.
I'm fine with this.
Yeah, I'm fine with that too, frankly. But I like the idea that there are 4 of them and they're all created in a corporate lab. That's what I'm interested in.
Do this Voltron thing? So is it like the corporation's like, okay, the heroes are out doing their thing, let's take over the inner sphere? But here's a question I have for you guys: like, does the machine, the 4 horsemen of the Voltron apocalypse, does it decide like, well, fuck you guys, I'm gonna do whatever I want now, and then turn on the corporation?
I think it's more of, well, it doesn't turn on the corporation like outright because it's still a tool. So it would want to use their armies, their influence to do things.
Mm-hmm. I was saying obviously because it's not that they become the leaders of those corporations. That's what happens.
They take over.
That's where my brain goes.
Yeah, that's a good point. Or indirectly controlling them, kind of like to go back to Lord of the Rings, kind of like the rings
subordinates
the elves,
them.
The men.
Oh yeah, yeah, that works too. And we can even have it be that there's always a bigger bad, so that works too. All right, cool. All right, well, we just made the fucking Voltron, like that's cool. Yeah, we can just make horsemen all
Soltron.
day long.
I
Yeah.
love that. It could be like Power Rangers or Voltron or any of them.
Oh yeah, I mean, like this is like such beautiful, like gushy tropeness. Just like I'm just guzzling it up. I'm loving all of that. So
For the record, like I hated it, but I actually kind of liked the new Power Rangers movie.
I salute you for even watching it. I saw that. I'm like, I'm good.
I saw it
don't
in
need to worry
theaters.
about that.
I don't think it's
What?
Wait,
Yeah.
what?
I did.
What? All right.
And I knew it was
on
gonna be
hold while
shit.
Daniel explains why he did this.
How much
I knew it
income
was
do you
gonna-
have?
I knew it was going to be garbage, and I think Jordan went with me, and I was like, "We're going to watch this." And I hate the Power Rangers, but I'm going to see this. And it was actually not horrible. I mean, it was horrible, but it wasn't a unwatchably horrible.
Daniel, this is like you purposefully made a bad decision. It's like,
Yes.
hey, I'm gonna go try this heroin real quick. You wanna come with?
Well,
just
just
a little
since
bit.
you can overcome addiction.
Just a little bit.
Oh my god.
It's a test of
Daniel.
I was
Did you
expecting
do,
it to
like-
be worse, honestly.
Were you like, is my taste really that bad? And then you went into Power Rangers.
I never liked the Power Rangers growing up. I thought they were kind of annoying and tedious, but I had a friend who really loved them, so I kind of watched them. But this movie, for some reason, I had to see it.
I was always terribly confused when the scenes would obviously change. I never realized as a dumb kid that it's like, oh, it's because this 3/4 of the show is filmed in Japan. And that makes sense now. Got it. All right. We're gonna wrap up here with our recap by we're gonna wrap up this recap by revisiting my favorite setting of this year. And man, it was tough. I have to say, like, we did a lot of really fucking banging episodes and banging settings this year. But my favorite, and I'm biased here, so I apologize in advance to everyone else, but my favorite setting this year was the Land of a Thousand Spices, which was actually referred to by my wife. So we're revisiting a land where a bunch of anthropomorphic animals cast spells through cooking. And that setting just brought me so much joy. I was like smiling the entire time we recorded each episode, and I wanted to revisit that. And so here we are. So the thing that I wanted to talk about was another type of magic, actually, that we didn't skip over, but I thought about it afterwards, and I thought it would be really cool to talk about. And we missed the preservers, where they can, when you have stuff like pickles or sauerkraut and whatnot, like I wanted something that there's an alchemy involved with that. And that's where you can get stuff like consumable items, right? Where if you need a potion, you have a potion in the form of a pickle of some kind. Like literally a pickle. And I'm like, oh, I'm like chortling as I'm typing this. I'm like, oh. And I know it's dumb as fuck. I know it's fine. And the other thing that I was thinking about, I'm like, you know what this could also mean? It could mean alchemical zombies and necromancers, because then you're pickling entire creatures.
Oh my god.
Yes. You're like preserving entire creatures that are undead. And I was like, yeah, that sounds dope as fuck.
I'm sold now.
Candying people is making golems.
Yes.
Yeah. And rot, like candy and sugar is all about rot and everything like that. And now we have preservers who are making potions and zombies. So yeah, mine's real quick. I almost wanted to do like pirates, but I feel like we've done pirates for so many other things that I was like, let's do something a little bit different this time.
I mean, pickled zombies, that just seals the deal right there. It just makes so much sense, and it's still so absurd.
Yes. And I was like, you know what? I wanted to keep the fun and joy of the setting, but I also wanted to add just a little bit of darkness. And I'm like, yeah, preserving people in pickle brine and then summoning them again. I'm like, yeah, that's dope. I want to do that. That's
You
cool.
can have like hipster necromancers who are the kinds that like to pickle everything. And it's just like, to them, it's just this like, edgy art they do, but really they're just fucking pickle hipsters.
Yeah, and like that's the thing. Pickling isn't necessarily inherently evil,
I
right?
know.
It's just like what you decide to pickle
Yes.
really colors what you're doing
I
there.
would like that taken out of context and just sent to someone. Just like, pickling is not inherently evil.
Now,
Oh man,
question for
I would
you.
love to have like memorable quotes from us just all spliced together. That'd be fun
That would be
shit.
violating our Fifth Amendment rights.
Oh yeah, yeah. Anyway,
This is the two-party state.
That's actually, are we one party? Please, please. I
No,
think
we're
one.
two-party. Not that I
Two-party?
looked it
Okay,
up when I
good.
had a boss.
That's good. Phew. Question. So like, okay, so the picklers can be necromancers or alchemists, right? Are candy wizards in the preservation umbrella, or are they a separate thing?
I kind of thought of them as a separate thing because
Okay,
candy,
that's
like
what I thought.
confectioners and candy and everything like that,
Yeah,
is like an entirely different process.
right.
You know, so
So is a candy wizard gone bad? Like who is that what it becomes? Or
no. Preserving is an entirely separate like field of magic. You know,
right.
like this is more akin to like a mad scientist
Okay.
more than it is like a necromancer or like a wizard or something like that.
What other stuff can they do? Oh, sorry.
I'm sad that this has been taken off of the internet for personal reasons, but I don't know who here has read Earthworld.
Oh yeah, yeah.
I
Earthworld is great.
Yeah, I miss the whole magic system of how they explained the life access and I forget what the other one was, but how you could combine magics of yeah, Dolomancy is the life access mixed with the motion axis, and
Yeah,
but I think
I,
that
I
you could have like a very detailed culinary one.
and I imagine that that's probably what we're like. That's something that is in the future. Like if we were to do like in like the Renaissance period of this setting, there's probably advances in culinary technique that are like outside of what we're currently thinking of. You know,
Mhm.
but where we are right now, preservers, they're basically like, hey, we can take this spell that you want to cast and make sure that it lasts longer, but it's not as powerful. You know, like it's a consumable item. So you'll be able to use this spell later. That's like, let's say that you cook deviled eggs or something like that. Bam.
Are
That sounds
kimchi
evil.
kimchi picklers preserver wizards?
Yep. Yep. Oh, yeah, absolutely. You got kimchi, you got tofu, you got like all sorts of brine. You have herring and fish preservers and stuff like
Ew.
that
What
as
about
well.
jam?
Fermenting is
Yeah.
also a form of. This is
Or
now just
fermenting?
becoming a culinary blog.
Yes, absolutely. That again, smiles, joy. That's what I want to talk about when I talk about this shit. Absolutely. Yeah. So really, I mean, we were really loose with what the spells actually did, except for the fact that they only affected the person who ingested them.
Mhm.
So if you were to consume like pickled fish or pickled herring, for example, why couldn't that just let you swim or breathe underwater
Oh,
really good?
perfect. Yeah, that makes sense.
Yeah.
Yeah,
It's
yeah.
it's simple, it's simple twists like that, or like deviled eggs. You could just there's a number of things you could do. You could either do with gaseous cloud,
Mhm.
or you
The
could
ability to fly,
I mean, they can give you
like
infernal
jump,
powers. Like,
jump.
like a jetpack.
they're literally eggs of
Yeah.
devils, like that have been preserved.
So I was actually thinking about that too, Daniel,
Yeah.
where it's like the eggs that like they give you fire resistance
Yes.
or something like that because it's deviled eggs, and
Yeah,
I'm like,
or you
oh,
breathe fire. Yeah, yeah.
yeah, exactly. Well, no, I thought the fire breathing was through hot peppers and stuff like that. I
Oh,
thought that's what we decided.
yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. Joy, pure, unadulterated joy, and now we get to do a world building jam. Oh, I'm sad because this is the last one of the season, but I'll in my heart I will rejoin them, so it's fine. All right, so the subject that we're doing is all right, so we're doing an event, and that event is going to be the archetype of tragedy. Oh no. No, I wanted joy, not tragedy.
Tragedy.
All right, so we've got a tragic event here then. Let's see what we can talk about that. Oh, all right. Okay. This is actually a little bit too easy. Okay, we're mostly based in Boston. There is a famous event in Boston, culinary related.
Oh, no, I know where you're going with this.
Yes, you do. The Great Molasses Flood is very well known in Boston circles. And yeah, that's what I wanted. I want to do something like that, but with the Land of a Thousand Spices.
What would it be? Are we talking global or more localized, kind of like the molasses flood?
We can keep it to a local region, not necessarily contained to just a single city, but definitely to like a continent, or like a country. Let's keep it to a country.
Okay. Since you brought up the molasses flood, my first kind of firing was of sugar wraiths.
Sugar wraiths.
Powdered sugar wraiths.
Oh my god. But we want this to involve the preservers, right?
No, we don't necessarily have to do that.
Have to? Okay. Because I was thinking, like, what if, like, some preserver factory exploded and, like, their preserving goo spilled everywhere, releasing, like, pickled zombies on the land?
See, you could have it just be an explosion that happened so fast that people didn't realize they died, and so they became sugar wraiths.
It became sugar wraiths.
Yeah, fuck it. We'll do both, huh? We'll Pompeii it. We'll Pompeii it. But
landed with powdered sugar. It was horrible.
Okay, but if we do both, we could. Okay, so what if it was like some place that has multiple of these things and they explode? Is there like some great candy empire fortress in the center of the world that or candy, but like has all of the different culinary arts, and it was exploded, and now there's this wave of all kinds of stuff coming out?
Well, no, see, I don't want it to be a constant threat. I want it to basically be a one-off event that happens, right? And also, I don't think it should be sugar. I actually think it should be salt, because when it comes to preservation, it should be salt. And also, salt explosions are like really fucking scary and dangerous.
And salt wraith kind of meets the look that I was going for.
Yeah, exactly. That's what I was thinking.
So we're saying that wherever this explosion happened, or maybe it happened in a local, and it's not large, it's a local setting, and it converted a bunch of people to salt wraiths as a result.
Yes. Okay. I'm totally fine with that.
Are they haunting the space?
We just made salt wraiths a thing, and they're already really scary because they're probably leaving desiccated bodies in their wake.
Yes, that's what they do. Like, like vampires drain like your blood. These drain like the salt, not the salt, but like the
liquids from your body.
Yeah, the liquid out of your body, basically.
Yes. Oh man. All right. That makes me sad when in a setting that I just want to be pure joy. So I feel like that's probably a good place to stop there.
Holy water is a saline solution.
What?
Holy water is a saline solution.
It is. But can we redeem it? Like, what are the heroes doing to counteract this salt explosion? Like, what's the upside, since this setting is supposed to be a hopeful setting?
Well, I think we kind of made candy people to be a little bit evil, but I think firing some like sugar into the salt wraith might balance them out.
Well, sugar is also a desiccant, so I don't necessarily see how that works.
But sugar is also hydrophilic, so it brings water to it. Oh. Wait, salt does that too. Fuck.
Are we trying to dissolve the salt? Is that the goal?
Do you want to dissolve it, or do you want to bring balance?
True. Yeah, that's a good point. Are we trying to bake with it?
Okay, so in a sense, the redemption comes from you want the sugar people or the sugar wizards to be like the ones who are like fighting the salt wraiths. That's what I'm hearing.
Oh, that makes sense. Yeah, I like that. Like, even though it doesn't make like culinary sense, I like the concept of sugar versus salt.
Yeah, well, yeah, it's salty versus sweet. So I can see that.
Yes.
Yeah.
Okay.
All right. that's at least acceptable. There's a little bit of redemption there, and it's still like tragic in its own right. Okay. And then, oh man, now you can get into the super edgy characters that are like, I fight the sweet, but I fight the salty, but I use sweet. You know, like you get like half angel, half dark, half
Oh my
demon.
god! Like
Like,
you like
you
every
go,
fifth edition character nowadays. Well,
We
I'm a
understand.
yeah, exactly. Yeah, tragic backstory, dual parentage, the
seven, like 3 or 4
whole.
races mixed together. You know,
I walk
Yeah.
the line of the balance between salty and sweet.
Oh, absolutely. Yeah. Yeah. Okay.
it's ridiculous.
You know what? I'm happy with that. I'm happy with my
Jesus.
edge case
They're
character.
a
That's
crack
fine.
team brought in.
Oh, what now?
They're a crack team brought in to solve this assault situation.
Okay, that
Right,
sounds
but again,
different.
the theme is tragedy, and the tragic event is where we're going to leave it. I feel like that's probably a good place to stop. I'm still smiling because now I get edgelord characters in my fucking sweet Redwall inspired game. So, like, yeah, I'm fine with this. Everything about this is okay. I think that's gonna about do it for this episode. By the way, I'm so happy that we got to explore some of our favorite settings throughout the year of 2020. I hope this was a good introduction to 2021 because man, fuck 2020. Am I right? Like, damn.
Fuck that.
Yeah. Yeah. And another thing that I'm also really looking forward to is more of your emails and more of your ideas for settings because we have a bunch already lined up. And man, they're good ones. They're ones that I'm really excited about exploring. And I can't wait to explore the rest of those with you guys for 2021. So remember that if you want to send us those settings and you want to be part of this fun, you can always email us at worldbuildwithus@gmail.com. Shoot us a tweet over at Let's Worldbuild. You can join our community by joining our Discord with a link in the description. Or if you really love our community already and you want to give us money, or if you just want to give us money in general, go ahead and follow us on Patreon. There's all sorts of goodies in there that I'm not going to get into right now, but you should look at it. It's cool. You know, maybe tempt you a little bit to loosen your purse strings. And in the meantime, remember that we love you very much. We're going to get through 2021 together, and we'll see you next week.